Good morning. So welcome to the third part in my live series, Demystifying Mindfulness and Meditation, because we have a tendency to overcomplicate things. And these are really incredibly useful tools for modern living. And I really want to share with people how they're not as complicated as they might seem. So this is the third in the series. There have been two prior to this. The first was 2 weeks ago, doing an introduction to the framework that I use to explain these concepts to people. And then last week, we focused on everyday mindfulness. And so I've been using a little graph to help me explain this. Actually, I'll put that out larger so we can see. So for anyone who's watched the other two, a little bit of a refresher. And for anybody who is going to carry on watching here and who hasn't seen that, just a little bit of a thing here. So this is the framework I'm using. So as you can see on the far left of the graph, we've got people with very full minds. So minds that are out of control, free reign, thinking about all sorts of different things, stuff that happened yesterday, stuff that we've got to do tomorrow. Really full mind. And last week we talked about everyday mindfulness. So this is where we start to move now down this kind of like the graph here, from having a full mind, and we're starting to empty the mind, and we're starting to think about less and less things. And so everyday mindfulness was about really coming into the present moment and using our senses. So we can remember kind of things, sensory experience we've had in the past. We can imagine sensory experience in the future. But the only time we actually have sensory experience is right here, right now, tuning into our body and to what's going on. Using sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. So that's, we're starting to, you can see how, we've come from having a very full mind. When we start concentrating on the present moment and what's actually right here, right now, and our senses, we're reducing the amount of things we're thinking about, because when we're in the present moment and we're using our sensory experience, we're not thinking about yesterday or tomorrow or further back, further forwards, etc. So today's live is all about the next step. So we've covered full mind and we've covered coming through into everyday mindfulness. And today's talk is all about this, which is mindful meditation or focused meditation. And so going back again, actually, because I think it's helpful just to this, what I'm suggesting here is that mindfulness and meditation are actually on a scale. And so it's not that mindfulness is different to meditation, or that mindful meditation is different to pure or unfocused meditation. It's really that actually there's a scale. And so we can be a little bit mindful, we can be very mindful, we can become mindfully relaxed, we can become mindfully meditative. From mindfully meditative, we can become pure and unfocused in our meditation. So it's not about discrete, different things or tools or techniques. It's about a family of tools and techniques, which essentially take us from having a full mind, or a mind that is out of control and not in our control, to a mind that is in our control. And the further we can pull our mind, this is my argument, along this graph, the more easy it is for us to take control of our thoughts. And so the more time we spend being mindful, the more time we spend in focused or mindful meditation, and even more, the more time we spend in unfocused meditation, where we are awake, but we flatline the brain and the thoughts aren't out of control. The more we do that, the more possible it is to be mindful in everyday life, and the more easy it is to put down those thoughts. So we've had this experience, so hopefully everybody understands everyday mindfulness and how we can be mindful even just doing the washing up or driving. Very good idea to be mindful when driving. So we're now coming into this focus. And so in this image here, we've got a lady focusing on a flower. And so, focusing on something like a flower can be a meditation. And so literally finding an object. So I've actually got this another one that I've mentioned before, and I often mention, is candle gazing. So candle gazing is a well-known kind of meditation, and so it's really not rocket science. It's incredibly simple. So all we're doing is we're taking something. So actually, let me just if I pop that back out so that's there. Great. Okay. So I'm using this candle now. So I'm literally just going to, actually that's the best way around, because then you can see both me and the candle. So if I was going to do a mindful or focused meditation on this candle, I would simply sit in awareness with this candle. And I would literally pay attention to nothing else. So obviously I'm not going to do that, because otherwise I would disappear off this live and wouldn't carry on talking. But it's actually incredibly easy to get absorbed by this. So how often, when did you last look at fire? I mean, fire is fascinating, and the way that the flame is flicking, the fact that there are lots of different colors within that flame, the fact that at the end of the wick there is a really hot little area there that, again, there's blue, there's yellow, there's red, there's orange. And then watching how the wax is pooling from the heat. So there's an awful lot to pay attention to in that. And anybody who does light candles regularly, it can be kind of, light a candle, but to actually really light a candle and pay attention to it, and to really bring our awareness onto it is a meditation in itself. I'm going to pop that down there where it's going to be safe. Okay, great. So yeah, a focused thing. So, I mean, this is really, I suppose what I'm talking about here is an object. But it doesn't just have to be an object. So we can focus on an object, and we can focus on that for an extended period of time, becoming more and more relaxed as we drop all the other thoughts. And, if you do have the time to try this, maybe later on today or at some point over this week or at the weekend, to just sit with an object, 5 minutes, set a timer, set an alarm, and just sit with an object for 5 minutes. And to really keep absorbing yourself and to really keep coming back to that object. It's amazing how much that can settle us, and how much it can calm us, and how much it can bring us to a much more relaxed place. And when we come back to that relaxed place, if we have got stress in our life and something stressful we have to deal with, when we come to it from a relaxed place, or we come back to it having relaxed ourselves, it's amazing how much more capacity we have to deal with that stress, that stressor, that stressful situation, whatever it is. So we're really coming into this focused awareness. Now, it doesn't just have to be an object. It could also be an activity. And so breathing and focusing on our breathing is actually at the heart of a lot of meditations. Even some of the ones that move into more of the unfocused kind of area, say, for example, Zen, Vipassana and Transcendental, those kind of meditations, they often use breathing as a kind of like an entryway, a concentration on the breathing, a mindful awareness of breathing as an entry point into that unfocused place where we actually sit in kind of like an essence, in presence, and just sit with no thoughts in our mind at all. But starting with the breath, so that's arguably an activity. So focusing on the breath, the in, the out, and maybe meditation actually just in through the nose and out through the nose. But that as of and by itself is a meditation. So just focusing on the in-breath, the out-breath, noticing the lungs filling, the chest rising, noticing the lungs emptying and the chest falling, noticing the feel of the air, or the as you're breathing in, noticing that on your lip, and as you breathe out, noticing the effect of the air that's coming out and noticing it on your lip. These are things we don't normally notice. And so mindful meditation or focused meditation is really about coming into the detail, into a really, really almost obsessive kind of way. So really, really focusing on something. So if breathing is what we're using as the focus for our meditation, it's becoming really aware of it, really, really aware of how long we breathe in for. I mean, so there are some meditations that are breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, breathe in for 7, breathe out for 7, breathe in for 4, breathe out for 7. That can elongate the out breath, and that can actually bring us to a really relaxed place. So what I'm not going to do today is talk through very many specific examples. We've talked about the candle, using an object, breathing meditation. Another one would be, for example, walking meditation. So you might be out doing a mindful walk where you're paying attention to all your senses, what you can see, what you can hear, what you can touch, as we touched on last week. But actually, you might then take that a step further and actually just start to be really mindfully aware of your walking and how your feet feel on the floor. So walking meditation is a Buddhist practice, something that Buddhist monks do. So just really being aware of what are you putting down on the floor first? Is it your heel? So heel to toe, how are you lifting your foot off the floor? Are you putting equal pressure through the left and the right foot as you're moving? Just being aware of, as you're moving, your passage through space, bringing awareness to that. So all of these meditations, whether it's an object, whether it's so like a flower or a candle, an activity like breathing or walking, we're just bringing our attention to it. And so I want to now just go back on now to, let's have a look. There we go. I'm just going to pop that out so it's slightly larger. So the 3 key areas that I really wanted to talk about today, to do with mindful and focused meditation. So one is self-directed versus guided. And so the examples I've already just talked about there, so focusing on an object or focusing on an activity, are really they can be self-directed. You don't need somebody to talk you through that. I mean, you can, and if you go on a mindful retreat or something like that, I run retreats where I teach people mindfulness and meditation. We have all sorts of different experiences that we get involved in. So I could direct a group in a mindful activity, or I could direct a group in a mindfulness focused meditation. But actually all of these things you can do yourself. So I could lead you on a breath meditation, talking you through the breath, but you can bring that focused awareness yourself. And you can sit with your own breath and do that. So with a lot of this, I mean, some people really like to have a guided meditation. And so there are lots of apps out there. I'm sure you know some, but you can do a Google search for mindful meditations. And in fact, even on my website, on my resources page, cosmicteapot.co.uk/resources, there is a chakra closing meditation on there. And to sit, to either sit comfortably or to lie down, to close your eyes and to listen to somebody talking you through a guided meditation can be such a relaxing and wonderful thing to do. But essentially, it's exactly the same as this. It's a mindful or focused meditation. And in this case, what you're focusing on is the guide's voice. So it's it's almost like another sensory kind of experience. So sensorily, you're focusing on your hearing and what you can hear. And what you can hear is the guide's voice. And you allow yourself to follow the story that the guide is telling, whether that's about the breath, whether it's about something more mystical. It doesn't really matter. You are listening to the sound of that guide's voice and you are following it, and keep bringing your attention back. So mantras, guides often use mantras or guide people in how to use mantras. But again, we can pick our own mantra. We can pick a mantra that means something to us, or we can have a phrase, a repetitive phrase that we use to sit in meditation with. So I am peace. I am peace is a great thing. So literally just sat there. I am peace. I am peace, and just focusing on that phrase or using it as a mantra, or it could be like one of the primordial sounds like om. So you could sit, and each time you come back, so whether it's an object, whether it's an activity, whether it's a mantra or something on repetition, whether it's a guide's voice, doesn't matter. We're focusing on something. And so this type of meditation, going back again, I do like to hop between slides, going back to this one, this is different to the type of meditation we're going to be talking about next week, which is unfocused and is about not focusing on anything, not an object, not an activity, not a mantra, not a sound, not a guide's voice, nothing. So that very much needs to be self-directed, because we can't have anything else there that we're reliant on. So in this area, in the mindful meditation, we can, if our preference is to follow a guided meditation, that can be a really great thing to do. So the key thing here, the second point I've got on here, is repetitive attention. So we are repetitively attending to something. So if we're attending to the candle and our thoughts drift off to something we had an argument with somebody about yesterday, the whole point of mindful or focused meditation is to come back to the candle, come back to the candle, come back to the candle, or the flower. And same with walking meditation. We might be walking and then we might start thinking about something else, listening to the birds. Oh no, I'm supposed to be concentrating on walking right now, walking, or the breath, or the guide's voice. So bringing that attention back to the thing that we are meditating on, or the thing that we've decided to do a meditation, the focus meditation on. So whatever it is that you choose. And then the final thing, the third point that I wanted to bring up here is 90 seconds. And so studies have shown that when our brain is in that totally full out of control place, when our brain is here and actually our adrenaline levels and our stress hormones like cortisol and several other things have all started to rise, we're in that really panicky, almost can't think straight place. Last week, I talked about how a glass of water or a big deep breath to get oxygen to the brain can really, really help with this place, and it can. But what researchers have found is that if we focus on something for 90 seconds, so a minute isn't long enough, if we focus on something for a full 90 seconds that isn't stressful, and we can keep bringing our focus back for 90 seconds, whole 90 seconds, our adrenaline levels, our cortisol levels, and all of those other stress hormones all drop back to normal for us levels. And so that 90-second rule feels really important to me, and something I wanted to convey this morning, that to spend 90 seconds focusing on something intently, it can be really amazing, again, for getting out of this overactive, kind of like almost high alert brain status. So I think last week I did actually say, have you ever heard the phrase, know something like the back of your hand, and how I was going to talk about that today. And so, yeah, I want to bring this in for the 90 seconds thing, because we always have our hands with us. And so the back of our hand is a actually very interesting thing to do. Where's my camera? There we go. This is the back of my hand. So how well do I know the back of my hand? Well, actually, in preparation for today, I thought I'd better have a little look at it, and I've actually got to know it a little bit better. But what I find interesting on here is, hey, flesh is flesh color, right? But actually, if I start to really focus on my hand, I can actually see, obviously, where the veins and things are in my hand. I can see some blue, I can see some purple, I can see some green, and I can actually see some little flecks of red. And actually, if you get up really, really close to my hand, look, you can see all the little tiny, little bits there where the hair follicles are. So yeah, it's fascinating, and how the fingers move, and the knuckles, and where the bones are in here. I mean, I'm a masseuse, and I do acupressure, so I'm really into the physical body and helping people through treatments and body work. So I know the body pretty well, but to spend 90 seconds attending intently on the back of your hand could be a really, really helpful tool for you moving forwards, because we can bring it. So it can be mindful awareness, like everyday mindfulness. Gosh, yeah, let me touch the back of my hand, look at the back of my hand, and just become really, really aware of it. But it can actually even then become a mindful meditation by literally just sitting with the hand still. So I'm not going to have it up here because it couldn't stay still. So still in front of me on my desk or wherever I am. And I could just spend 90 seconds just really analyzing the back of my hand, paying attention to nothing else but the back of my hand, the nails, the nail bed. So yeah, so I think that's hopefully explain what I mean by 90 seconds. 90 full seconds of attention on something can really, really, really help. And so I was thinking about maybe leading people on a guided meditation this morning. But what I've actually decided is that there are times and places for that. There are lots of guided meditations out there. And really what I'd like to encourage you today to do as a bit of homework or an exercise following watching this, would be to spend 90 seconds studying the back of your hand, so that next time you say, know something as well as the back of your hand, you actually maybe do have a bit more awareness of what the back of your hand actually looks like. So that's it for today. That's self-directed versus guided, repetitive attention, and 90 seconds as the three things I wanted to talk about for mindful or focused meditation. And next week, we will be coming on to the final type of meditation that I'm going to be talking about, so the unfocused meditation or empty mind. And then the week after that, we're going to have a final week. And for anybody who's wondering, it is going to be like a summary. But what we're also going to do in that week, just as a thing for anybody who's wondering, why would you want to demystify mindfulness and meditation, the fifth session in this series will be remystifying mindfulness and meditation, as we'll be talking about some of the mystical and more spiritual aspects of meditation. But that's in the fifth session, not next week. Next week we're purely talking about a very grounded and practical reason to practice unfocused meditation. So that's it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed that, anybody who joined me, and obviously these will be saved on Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube for anybody who wants to access them in the future. Thank you for joining.